It's one of those books that I actually did not buy because I kind of was like trying to show some restraint. I have this bad habit of buying a lot of books that I think I'll get to reading, but I have a hard time getting to it. Part of it is because I'm spending time doing stuff like this, but that's fine. And but yeah, I know there's a few books about like supposed trip to India that Jesus made, and that makes a lot of sense to me. It's funny, I've never found any satisfying answers about this, but how the Jewish tradition and the Hindu tradition both have this 6-pointed star at the center of their belief system. It's a crucial part of the Kabbalah. It's a crucial part of the chakra system. You could say why? Well, because it's a fundamental, it's like a perfect symbol, and maybe the spiritual significance of these symbols was discovered independently of each other. Maybe those two religions are not related in the way that I'm thinking. But I do love this. I love this idea that, and again, trying to boil things down to their simplest level. So there's this idea of like a guy who's being raised in a community where the leaders of the community are not actually following the tenets of their supposed belief system. And what is a kid supposed to do if his community... I suspect that Jesus is like super high in openness and that he's very interested in understanding like really deeply these spiritual questions. And what happens when your elders can't answer those questions? You have to go out into the desert. And yeah, maybe he went to India. Again, it's just one of these fundamental archetypes of the person who goes out into the unknown to find answers and then comes back to the community and says, hey, look, I found the truth, and then gets crucified for it. And you'd only get crucified if people had a vested interest in hiding the truth. Like, why would you get crucified? Why would they murder you for simply telling the truth? Well, people have an interest in hiding the truth. That's the only reason. I'm just this is how I think about these things. I'm trying to simplify these things as much as possible. And to me, you simplify the Jesus story in this beautiful way, even the fact that he's a carpenter, because carpentry requires knowledge of the physical world and also an aesthetic quality that's coming from the spiritual world. Carpentry is it's a foundational art, of civilization. And the fact that Jesus is a carpenter, I think, is it's an important part of the story. Because what kind of person was he, And again, yeah, I'm assuming he was a real person that lived. I think there's enough historical evidence that supports that. So, you gotta remember, I'm coming at this as a former atheist. So, one of the reasons I wanted to do the shared story in this particular way was that I want to reach out to atheists, to people who were like me. Like if you're watching these videos and you're in here and you're already a believer, that's great, and I really appreciate it, the support, obviously, and I love sharing these ideas with believers. But I want to reach out to people who don't believe and who are, in my view, in danger of suffering, but also in danger of making whatever comes after this more difficult. And I'll just put it that way. I'm thinking about this a little bit lately because I've been sort of recognizing through doing these live streams like what my interests, kind of narrowing down like what my interests are in terms of what I want to talk about with this stuff. I want to evolve this into something that is helpful. Stuff needs to be useful, I guess, is what I'm trying to get. Can't just be, look at that pretty thing. That might bring you in. But I feel like, without utility, it's just more pretty art. I feel like a lot of art is deep and sort of thought-provoking, and then some art is just, oh, look at that, that's cool. I wanted to do this because I talked about this yesterday. Everybody's trying to help. I want to help. And all this stuff really helped me.